Alright, so now we've got this die set up. Now we're going to go over and do the bullet seating die. But in this case, we're actually going to skip this station for right now, and we're going to come back to it, and I'll show you why here in just a second. What we're going to do is we're going to take the crimp die, and we're going to do that one next. The reason why is if we set the bullet seating, we're not going to know where the top of the case is to verify our crimp. It'll just take a lot longer to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to station 4, and we're going to find where the top of this case is, and then we can adjust our crimp to know about where we're at, and then we can fine-tune it once we get station 3 set up with the bullet seating. So go ahead and slide that back in there, put the pins back. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and advance it to station 4. I'm going to run the handle all the way down, and then I'm just going to screw this die down until I feel it touch the top of the case. Okay, right there, that's touching the top of the case. So at that point, it's touching the top of the case, but it's not actually doing anything. So again, hold that lock nut so it stays out of the way. And let's go ahead and give this, let's just say 1 full turn. There's a half. And there's 1. And we'll just go ahead and, again, finger tight this just so that it kind of holds it in place for right now. So now we'll go ahead and we'll back up to station 3. Now this one's set up roughly where we need it. So we're going to take our bullet seating. We're just going to go back that off. We're going to go ahead and screw this in. One thing you want to watch out for is to make sure you don't run it down too far and hit the shell plate. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this bullet in place. Then we're going to run the handle down, running that bullet up into the die. So now we're just going to screw this die down until we feel it touch the top of the bullet. And then what we also need to make sure to do is back this micrometer off. Let's just back it off to there. It's at like the number 4 setting. This is how we're going to do our final adjustment to get the bullet down to the seating depth that we need. But for right now, we're going to do the mass adjust. So just hold on to this, screw this down. Okay, right there, I feel it touching the top of the bullet. So anywhere in this area, as long as it's touching, you still want to make sure that you can see these numbers. Go ahead and screw that lock nut down. Again, for this, I'm just going to do it hand tight because we're only setting them up and doing 1 or 2 rounds, so it's not going to be a big deal. Alright, so now it's just touching the top of the bullet. So now what we want to do is we're going to screw this down. That's 1 full turn. You'll be able to see the 0 on here in your adjustments. That was 2 full turns. So what I'm going to do is take the calipers And what we need is 1.160. So I'm going to go to 1.1. 1.160. So now that we've screwed this down some, we're going to go ahead and run the handle down. You'll feel just a little bit of resistance. Go ahead and pull that pin out. We'll leave that out for the time being. And we'll go ahead and put that in there, and we'll see that we're still really long. So let's do another 2 full turns. Run the handle down. I feel a little bit more resistance there. Now in that case, we went too far. We're at 1.14. We need to be at 1.16. So that's a good example. The first adjustment, you can go a couple of turns and then you want to start going slower, because now we have to go pull this bullet. So we'll go ahead and set that one aside. I'm going to get another one and another bullet. So we're going to go ahead and back this off. Let's go let's go 1.5 back. We go ahead and go through this steps again. I'm not going to put a primer in this one because there's really no point. We're just setting up the overall lengths. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and set this back on there. We're at 1.212. So I'm going to go ahead and set this back to 1.16. And now we're just going to do small adjustments. Still too long. Do another 2. Still too long, but it's getting close, so let's do 1. And we're really close. So let's do a half. Down. And there we go. Just barely scooting through there. So as you can see, we did a couple major adjustments right off the get-go just to seat the bullet down in there. And then I think we did 1 and then a half and then a quarter. You'll see on here there's a 2, there's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as we got closer, I would just go from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1.5, 1 1/4, so on and so forth, as it got closer, so that I didn't go too far. So now we've got the 1.160. So now this die is set up. We're going to run it over to the crimping die. We're going to run it through, run it down. And then this is kind of, you can just do it by feel. You can run your finger down it and you'll feel just a little bit of a lip. So we know that we need to put more. And you can also hold it up to the light, and you'll be able to see when it's getting enough crimp on it. So we'll go ahead and back this, again holding the die, back the lock nut off a little bit, and let's give it one more full turn. Again, hold the die, tighten the lock nut down, finger tight, and then let's run it through again. Again, you can just run your finger over it and you'll feel that that lip is starting to go away. Again, just hold it up to the light. And we could probably just do a little bit more. Let me go ahead and I'm going to do another half turn. Go ahead and put it in there. And I could tell just by the way it crimped that it actually got a pretty good crimp on there now. And if you hold it up to the light, you'll actually see where it's tapered in now towards the bullet. And if you run your finger over it, you'll see that it's a lot smoother. The other thing that you want to look for, which is a very good indicator of how much crimp you have on it, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the camera, but holding it under the light, you'll see from about right there up to the top of the brass, you'll see a brighter ring around it. So it'll be brighter, that top little piece, than the rest of the brass. And that'll show you that the crimp die actually came down on it and crimped it right there and where it stopped. So you only want to have about that much. Otherwise you can get too much crimp on there and it's going to build up pressure when you go to shoot it. Again, it's just kind of trial and error, but you can run your finger over it and see that that's pretty much perfect.